Well, as you can see, it's getting real spooky out here. More fallout from Donald Trump's Liberation Day. 900, I repeat, 900 employees have now been temporarily laid off because of Donald Trump's tariffs. Injured, call Sam. Never mind that advertisement, but I'm sure somebody needs it. Stellantis is pausing production at plants in Canada and Mexico. And this move is because of what Donald Trump is doing right now. In an email from North American Chief Operating Officer Antonio Filosa sent to these employees, he went on to say that Stellantis will quickly adapt to the policy changes imposed by Trump. He noted that the actions that the company is taking are, quote, necessary given the current market dynamics. We understand that the current environment creates uncertainty, he said. Be assured that we are very engaged with all of our stakeholders, including top government leaders, unions, suppliers, and dealers in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, as we work to manage and adapt to these changes. Now, do you Trump supporters still think this is a game? Your savings is on the verge of being wiped out. These tariffs, they're saying they're adding thousands and thousands of dollars to your annual budget to live off of. Your 401ks have pretty much evaporated for the most part, and if they haven't evaporated already, they're on their way. Do you now realize this isn't a game? While you're so busy out here avoiding being woke, you're going broke. Wow.
The ripple effects of Donald Trump's tariff policies are starting to hit American workers hard, with layoffs already underway in multiple sectors and more predicted to follow. Framed as a strategy to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. and punish countries like China for what Trump calls unfair trade practices, the reality on the ground is proving to be far more complex and painful. Take Volvo, for example. The company just announced it will lay off up to 800 workers at 3 of its U.S. facilities. While Volvo didn't point fingers directly at Trump's tariffs, analysts say the timing and language around market uncertainty and rising costs leave little doubt. And it's not just the auto industry. Businesses across the board that rely on imported materials are under pressure. Small businesses are especially vulnerable. In cities like Washington, D.C., Chinese restaurants like Chong Chong are facing 100% plus tariff hikes on key ingredients. Sichuan peppercorns, soy sauce, and even basic condiments now come with massive import taxes, pushing operational costs through the roof. Many of these restaurants are being forced to either raise prices, reduce staff, or shut down altogether. Beyond the headlines, the economic data paints a troubling picture. A report from Goldman Sachs suggests that for every manufacturing job potentially created by tariffs, 5 others could be lost elsewhere in the economy. That's a net loss of 400,000 jobs, a blow to the very working-class voters Trump claims to champion. Industries like retail, logistics, construction, and agriculture, which rely heavily on global supply chains, are being squeezed. Tariffs on raw materials like steel, aluminum, and lumber increase costs, which then trickle down to contractors and laborers who find themselves priced out of jobs. Economists and business leaders are warning that the broader implications could be catastrophic if the tariffs continue or expand. Inflation is already being fueled by these higher import costs, weakening consumer spending and making it harder for businesses to maintain payroll.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but in 2025, no job is stable. You can be at a company for 2 months, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, even 30 years. The moment that it makes sense for the company to lay you off to make more profit, that's the moment they will lay you off. I've seen people working at companies like Google and GM literally get laid off with little or no notice. And nowadays, with AI and automation, companies are looking to cut costs. And unfortunately, the largest costs at most companies are us, the humans, the payroll. So the moment the CFO can sign for a new tool, a new piece of automation, some new AI, and it can let go and cut costs of manpower, they will do it. There is literally no loyalty. This isn't what it was like when your grandparents were growing up 30, 40 years ago, where you could just work one job your whole career and retire nicely. Nowadays, no job is safe.
Stellantis mass layoffs in the U.S. mark a major disruption not just for the company's workforce, but for the broader American auto industry already grappling with a rapidly changing landscape. With up to 2,450 hourly workers being cut at the Warren Truck Assembly plant alone, the human toll is substantial, and the reasons behind it signal deeper challenges for legacy automakers. At the center of the layoffs is the discontinuation of the Ram 1500 Classic, a model that once served as a steady seller but has seen significant sales declines amid shifting consumer demand and tightening emissions standards. Stellantis claims it is reallocating resources toward its more premium Jeep Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer SUVs, but that decision comes with a cost, eliminating an entire shift at the Michigan facility and gutting a majority of its unionized workforce there. This wave of layoffs isn't isolated. Earlier in 2024, Stellantis cut hundreds of salaried workers and offered voluntary buyouts to thousands more, particularly at locations in Detroit, Toledo, and Mopar parts distribution centers. These cuts are being framed as streamlining, but employees and union leaders see a different story. Cost-cutting driven by uncertainty, reduced profits, and pressure to transition to electric vehicles without a clear plan. UAW President Shawn Fain has been vocal in his criticism, saying Stellantis is backtracking on commitments made during the historic 2023 labor negotiations. One key concern is the company's delay in investments promised for the Belvidere, Illinois plant, a facility that was once slated to be a hub for EV production. Now, the timeline for those plans is uncertain, and workers in that region are left in limbo. Financially, Stellantis is feeling the squeeze. The company reported a 48% drop in net profits in the first half of 2024, driven in part by slowing demand for traditional gas-powered vehicles and increased competition in both the EV and international markets. Supply chain issues, inflation, and rising costs of materials have also eroded profit margins. What's especially concerning for many analysts is that Stellantis actions reflect a broader industry trend. As automakers rush to electrify and modernize their operations, legacy models and the jobs that support them are being left behind. Yet the new wave of EVs hasn't arrived fast enough or at scale to absorb the displaced workforce. These job cuts highlight the fragile balance between modernization and job security. Without a robust federal or state-level safety net or retraining infrastructure, thousands of workers, many of whom have spent decades in these plants, are being left behind. In cities like Warren, where auto manufacturing has long been a cornerstone of the local economy, the social and economic fallout will likely be felt for years. The question now is whether Stellantis and other automakers can truly deliver on promises of a just transition to EVs, or if these layoffs are just the beginning of a deeper crisis in American manufacturing.
It takes 500 applications right now to land one offer. I graduated 17 years ago from a pretty good school. I worked at some of the top consulting firms. I have all of my updated credentials and certifications, and I have never experienced anything like it. And I've worked and lived through multiple recessions over the past 17 years, and I cannot explain how all of the old ways of doing things are just not working. LinkedIn, Indeed, all of those platforms used to work so well for me. I actually used to have recruiters really chasing me down, especially if I had recent recommendations, recent certifications, experiences that were at really good corporations, and it's just none of that is helping. I've also tried the referral route. Out of all the jobs I've applied to, I've had 17 high-level referrals, and when I mean high-level, I mean director, VP. I don't just know somebody, I know someone that's been there for a long time, and they're high in the organization, and I've still only landed 4 interviews, and I didn't land any offers yet. It is extremely challenging, and unless you've been unemployed in the last 6 months, I don't know if you can fully wrap your head around it. At first, I was oh, it's the election season, because it was the end of October when I got cut in a RIF. And then I was oh, it's the holidays, it's just bad timing. And then it was the new year, and I was okay, the election is over, I'm ready to move forward. And then things just seem to be more and more challenging. Anyway, I met with the CEO of a new company called Use Massive. And essentially it uses AI to help find all of the jobs that are out there for you and apply for you. And essentially the idea is it takes a ton of applications that are a good fit for you to land interviews and get the offer, and doing it manually just seems insane. It hasn't been working for me to date. So I'm really excited to be trying it and experimenting with it. Again, I can't imagine how I would actually physically apply to 500 jobs that were a good fit. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
2025, I'm gonna need a refund because this year sucks already. I just got laid off for basically the second time back to back. If you didn't know, I worked at Twitter and I got laid off when Elon Musk acquired the company. Since then, I've been working at a like a content strategy agency type place as a director of strategy, and I just got laid off yesterday. It's surreal because I definitely didn't want to go through another layoff. Being laid off the first time was one of the most traumatic events that have ever happened to me, especially because it happened so publicly. This time was obviously a little bit different, but the company lost some clients and now here I am without a job. It's hard not to reevaluate my life choices at this point. I work in tech, and so I'm wondering if that's still what I should be doing. It's hard to feel like secure in a job anymore. It feels like those days are over. So I don't know if I should be in tech anymore or working this corporate life. I love the security of having a stable job, but that hasn't been the case for quite some time for me because it's just been so unstable in the industry.
All right, it is March 3rd of 2025, and I am officially laid off of my job. I was a project manager for a solar company out in Missouri, working remote, and they let go of the whole department as of today. So this really does suck. Not too sure what to do now other than to update my resume and try to find a job in the area. But yeah, it really does suck. So if you have any tips on resumes, or if anyone is hiring, please let me know.
And there you have it. Stellantis is shifting gears, but it looks like the workers are getting left behind. Layoffs, broken promises, and a future riding on electric dreams. But at what cost? As the auto industry races toward the future, one thing's for sure. Not everyone's getting a seat in the car. If you want more stories that break down the headlines and throw a little flavor on top, you're in the right place. This is Orbit Point, where the engines of news never stop revving. Make sure to like, subscribe, and smash that bell harder than Stellantis smashed those union contracts. Catch you in the next ride.